This is a SportsE Media production, part of Quiet Loud Studios, the podcast network where reflection meets amplification.
Welcome to Sports Betting Uncovered, where we explore the world of sports betting, its intricacies, stories, and the impacts it has on our lives. I'm your host, Chaz, and today we're uncovering a serious topic that's been rising alongside the popularity of sports betting: addiction. Six years ago, sports betting was illegal under federal law. Today, it's everywhere. From TV ads to billboards, the rapid growth of sports betting is undeniable. But with this growth comes a significant issue: sports betting addiction. In this episode, we'll look into the rise of sports betting, the factors contributing to its popularity, and the dark side of addiction that many face. To truly understand the rise of sports betting addiction, we need to take a step back and look at the history of sports betting in the United States. Before the landmark 2018 Supreme Court decision, sports betting was largely confined to the shadows. Sports betting in the U.S. has a long and storied history. It dates back to the early 19th century when horse racing was a major pastime. Betting on horse races became popular, and it wasn't long before other sports followed suit. However, the industry faced significant challenges. In 1919, the infamous Black Sox scandal, where 8 Chicago White Sox players were accused of intentionally losing the World Series in exchange for money from gamblers. This cast a dark shadow over sports betting.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special broadcast coming to you live on this October evening in the year of our Lord, 1919. Tonight, we bring you startling news that has shaken the very foundations of our beloved national pastime, baseball. Reports have surfaced that 8 members of our esteemed Chicago White Sox are implicated in a scandal of unprecedented proportions. Allegations suggest that these players, revered by fans across the nation, have conspired to deliberately lose the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for monetary gain from unscrupulous gamblers. The names of these players, now etched in infamy, include Eddie Cicotte, Lefty Williams, Shoeless Joe Jackson, Buck Weaver, Chick Gandil, Fred McMullen, Swede Risberg, and Happy Felsch. These men, once heroes of the diamond, now stand accused of betraying the trust of their team, their city, and the entire country. The scandal, masterminded by notorious gambler Arnold Rothstein, has cast a dark shadow over the integrity of the sport we hold dear. As the grand jury convenes and the investigation unfolds, the baseball world waits with bated breath for justice to be served. Stay tuned, dear listeners, as we continue to bring you updates on this shocking turn of events. May the truth prevail and the sanctity of baseball be restored.
In response to such scandals, the government began to crack down on sports betting. The most significant of these efforts came in 1961 with the Federal Wire Act, which aimed to curb organized crime by banning all forms of interstate wagering on sports. This law effectively drove sports betting underground, where it remained for several decades. Despite these restrictions, sports betting never truly disappeared. The appetite for wagering on sports was too strong. Throughout the 20th century, illegal bookmaking operations thrived, and Las Vegas emerged as a hub for legal sports betting thanks to Nevada's unique laws. Yet for most Americans, betting on sports was an illicit activity, whispered about in backrooms and conducted with bookies. The push for legalization began to gain momentum in the early 2000s. Advocates argued that legalizing sports betting would bring it out of the shadows, regulate the industry, and generate significant tax revenue. One of the major milestones in this effort was the formation of the American Gaming Association, AGA, in 1994. The AGA played a crucial role in advocating for the legalization of sports betting and educating the public and lawmakers about its benefits.
Americans love sports and they love to bet on sports. The question has always been whether they had a legal option or not. Now that states have legalized sports betting, we've seen incredible growth in the handle, transitioning betting from the illegal market into the safe, regulated marketplace.
As said by AGA Representative Bill Miller, President and CEO of the American Gaming Association, a key figure in the push for legalization was former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. In 2011, Christie signed a bill into law that would allow sports betting at New Jersey's casinos and racetracks. However, this law faced immediate challenges from major sports leagues and the federal government, citing the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, PASPA, of 1992, which prohibited sports betting in most states.
Good afternoon. Today, I'm proud to sign this bill legalizing sports betting at New Jersey's casinos and racetracks. This is a critical step for our state's economy, creating jobs, generating revenue, and allowing us to compete fairly. We know the challenges ahead. The federal government and sports leagues may try to block us, citing outdated laws like PASPA, but we won't be intimidated. This is about New Jersey's right to govern itself and do what's best for our people. We're ready to fight for this, and we will prevail. Thank you.
The battle culminated in a historic Supreme Court case, Murphy v. NCAA, in 2018. The court ruled in favor of New Jersey, striking down PASPA and allowing states to legalize sports betting at their discretion. This decision was a turning point, opening the doors for a nationwide sports betting industry. Today, over 30 states have legalized sports betting, with more considering legislation. The landscape of sports betting in the U.S. has been transformed, leading to both economic opportunities and significant challenges, including the rise of sports betting addiction. Let's start with some context. Back in 2018, the Supreme Court lifted the federal ban on sports betting. This decision opened the floodgates, allowing states to legalize betting and companies to develop and market betting apps. The result? A surge in legal wagers and industry revenue.
Good evening. In a landmark decision today, the Supreme Court has struck down the federal ban on sports betting, paving the way for a new era in the gaming industry. This ruling gives individual states the green light to legalize sports betting, a move expected to reshape the landscape of both sports and entertainment across the country. With this decision, we can expect a rapid expansion of legal sports betting, from the development of new betting apps to increased revenue for states that choose to participate. The impact will be felt by sports leagues, betting companies, and millions of fans nationwide. Stay tuned as we continue to cover this historic development and its implications.
In 2018, the annual commercial sports betting revenue in the U.S. was relatively modest. Fast forward to 2023, and it has surged over 12-fold, exceeding $11 billion. High-profile events like March Madness and the Super Bowl have played significant roles in this growth. For example, during March Madness in 2024 alone, Americans legally wagered nearly $3 billion. Advertising has been another major driver. Studies show that NBA and NHL fans are exposed to 3 gambling ads per minute during broadcasts. This aggressive marketing strategy has normalized and integrated sports betting into our culture.
The American Gaming Association says that sports betting ads guide people from illegal to legal markets, which raises tax revenue for governments and helps consumers avoid fraud.
But this rapid growth and normalization come with a dark side. Sports betting addiction, also known as gambling disorder, is a condition where individuals develop a pathological obsession and compulsion to bet on sports outcomes. This addiction can significantly impair daily life, leading to financial problems, relationship issues, and mental health challenges. The Mayo Clinic describes gambling disorder as persistent and recurrent problematic gambling behavior that leads to clinically significant impairment or distress. Symptoms include preoccupation with gambling, chasing losses, gambling when distressed, and jeopardizing significant relationships. Family addiction specialist Dr. Timothy W. Fong, clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA, says,
like addictive drugs such as cocaine, heroin, nicotine, and alcohol, gambling activates the brain's reward system, which is powered by dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter inside the brain that reinforces sensations of pleasure and connects those sensations to certain behaviors or actions.
The consequences can be severe: financial ruin, relationship strain, Mental health issues such as anxiety and depression, and even suicidal ideation, are common among problem gamblers. In extreme cases, the social costs of gambling addiction can parallel those seen in the opioid crisis. It's essential to recognize the signs early and seek help if needed. If you or someone you know is struggling with gambling addiction, there are resources available. Awareness and early intervention can make a significant difference. While the rapid growth of sports betting has brought economic opportunities, it has also led to significant societal challenges. Let's explore the broader social implications of sports betting addiction and what the research tells us about its economic and social costs. Sports betting addiction doesn't just affect individuals, it has a ripple effect that impacts families, communities, and even entire economies. One of the most immediate consequences is financial distress. Problem gamblers often face severe financial problems, which can lead to loss of savings, mounting debts, and even bankruptcy. These financial issues don't just stay with the individual. They strain relationships and can lead to domestic conflicts and family breakdowns. As financial expert Robert Strezzo of Center for Public Justice says,
as sportsbooks create direct digital appeals to college-aged youth, more and more young people, especially young men, find themselves with gambling addictions, developed through sports betting with friends, and debt that follows them their whole lives. The burden of college debt is compounded by gambling debts and the costs of addiction therapy.
Beyond the personal financial impacts, there are broader economic costs to consider. According to a study by the National Council on Problem Gambling, the social costs of gambling addiction in the U.S. are estimated to be around $7 billion annually. This includes costs related to job loss, bankruptcy, and legal fees, as well as costs associated with treating gambling addiction. Employment issues are another significant consequence. Problem gamblers often experience job loss due to decreased productivity, absenteeism, and in some cases, theft or embezzlement to fund their gambling habits. This not only affects the individual's livelihood, but also the overall productivity and profitability of businesses. As HR specialists, Atlantic Behavioral Health say,
gambling addiction can severely impact workplace performance. Employees who are struggling with addiction may exhibit decreased focus, increased absenteeism, and higher levels of stress, all of which can disrupt the workplace environment and reduce overall productivity.
The social implications extend beyond the workplace. Gambling addiction is linked to various mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and in severe cases, suicidal ideation. The stress and guilt associated with gambling losses can lead to a downward spiral, exacerbating these mental health problems. A study published in the Journal of Gambling Studies found that individuals with gambling problems are more likely to suffer from mental health disorders and substance abuse issues. This comorbidity makes treatment more complex and recovery more challenging. Moreover, the strain on public resources is considerable. Governments and communities must allocate significant funds to address the consequences of gambling addiction, from providing treatment programs and support services to handling increased crime rates associated with desperate gamblers seeking quick cash.
The impact of gambling addiction on public health is profound. We see increased demand for mental health services, substance abuse treatment, and social support systems. It's a multifaceted issue that requires a comprehensive approach to address effectively.
Lastly, the social fabric of communities can be eroded. Trust is broken in families and among friends, and community resources are strained as they try to support those affected by gambling addiction. The normalization of gambling, driven by pervasive advertising, further complicates efforts to mitigate these impacts. In summary, the rise of sports betting addiction has far-reaching consequences that extend well beyond the individual. It affects families, workplaces, communities, and the economy at large. Understanding these broader social implications is crucial as we continue to navigate the expanding landscape of sports betting. Before we wrap up, we encourage you to visit the SportsE Media platform or our podcast network for more information and support resources. Let's work together to raise awareness and provide support for those affected by gambling disorders. Thank you for listening to Sports Betting Uncovered. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others and tune in next time as we continue to explore the world of sports betting. Stay safe and bet responsibly. Our articles and podcasts, including those on sports betting, are for entertainment and informational purposes only and are not intended to promote or endorse betting. If you choose to bet, we urge you to do so responsibly. Help is available for those facing challenges with gambling. Contact the National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-522-4700 or visit ncpgambling.org. North Carolina residents can also find resources at More Than a Game. If you need immediate assistance, call 1-800-GAMBLER. For more details, see our full disclaimer.